Hi, my beautiful souls. How are you? Um, I'm popping in to chat to you about the eclipse season. So we're already in eclipse season. I've been taught that the eclipse window opens a month before. So 25th of September, when we've started with this energy. And unlike a normal new moon and full moon, the eclipse energy builds up for a month. You then have the eclipse window of 2 weeks where everything's heightened. And we're in this week before the eclipse. So we're starting to feel that heightenedness of the energy and everything that's coming. And then the effects take about 6 months to come, into fruition, or it can take up to that period. So whereas with the new moon and full moon, you normally feel it for 3 days before, 3 days after, and it's sort of a bit mild. I'm not saying it always is, but it is. And so eclipses are game changers. They're here to bring us into what I believe alignment of our soul. They're here to help us step into a higher consciousness, to step more into our divine purpose and the reason we're here. And as a collective, it does the same. It brings us into a higher consciousness. It's an upgrade that we're coming in. And that can mean, and really what they do is it brings in change. And it can be a really incredible change, and it just feels amazing. But it also can be change where you're just like, I did not see that coming. Oh my gosh, shock, that sort of thing. But ultimately, it's bringing and taking what you need in your space. So we all feel the eclipses, just as we feel all the transits and stuff, because we all have Scorpio and Taurus, which is the axis it's happening in. But if you have planets that it is aspecting, you'll feel this energy even more. And there is just, it's what the soul alignment needs. And so the key dates that we have for this, my loves, is on the 25th of October, it is a partial solar eclipse in the Scorpio, and that's a new moon. And then on the 8th of November, we have a total lunar eclipse, which is in Taurus. And so if we just break down what is the Taurus and Scorpio axis, this is about ruling our security and safety. They're both fixed signs. So Scorpio for me it's that hidden depth, it's your emotions. Scorpio, when you bring it into the light, and that is about alchemizing and changing, but often it's really the hidden depths. So it's, linked to the occult, taboo subjects. Often when we have these things come out that are hidden, that we didn't know, so secrets emerge, that sort of thing. But ultimately, the true power is when you're in touch with the depth of emotions. It's a water sign, and you bring that out and you heal that. You can transform that into amazing the alchemy, the magic, the metamorphosis, the phoenix rising, those sort of things are with Scorpio. But it does have a really much, you go into that dark depth to come up into the lights. And it's the beautiful power of Scorpio. It's intense, really, really intense. And we have Taurus, which is opposite it. And Taurus is calm. It wants stability. It's an earth sign, also fixed. And it's about groundedness. It's about practicality and taking that stableness. It rules agricultural and finances, and how it's like, what do we do to produce and create this harmony in the life? So it's all about that production of our basic necessities. And so with these eclipses, we're on this space where I feel like it's really connecting into how we're moving from the south node, which is potentially the way we've been doing things, which is not aligned. So all of this sort of, we see the corruption and that sort of stuff playing out in the greater space. The old ways of doing it, the old systems potentially of finance, how we did food, how we did that, and moving into the north node of Taurus and finding new financial systems to work with, new ways of agriculture and food, or just revitalizing that. And this is where we are. This is the trajectory of creating the new in this. And this is what the eclipse is doing. So it'd be really, if you're interested, and sometimes for me, it's really fascinating watching what happens out on the big world stage. It is a stage, in terms of potentially what happens in the financial markets, any new food innovations, those sort of things coming out. But whatever happens, knowing that it is coming out for the greater good of all. So even if there is a sudden crisis, know that there is potentiality for it, and it's what we need as humanity moving forward. But if we come back into our own sort of perspective and stuff, The solar eclipse is what we have the first one, and that is in Scorpio. And this is about new beginnings, love. A solar eclipse is about bringing new opportunities and stepping into a new chapter. It's almost, if you think this is where you sow the seeds that you want to reap over the next 6 months. And that's what you're doing on that. The solar eclipse also often makes you feel quite exhausted and that sort of thing. So it's sort of feeling into that, but it is these new things. It's a culmination, it's magic. It's sort of, it's asking you, it can be quite scary, but it's asking you to step into the new. It's like, you need to sort of like be like, oh, maybe I never even thought of that as an opportunity. I never even thought of that coming through, but this is going, can you take the leap? Can you step into that self and working with the universe to co-create? And then you're going to have the lunar eclipse. And the lunar eclipse is, for me, it's very much, it's a culmination. So normally the lunar eclipse is the 6-month period from the previous eclipse period. Not always, but that's sort of how I see it. And it's sort of a culmination of what we've done. So if we sowed in the solar thing, and now we're reaping what we did, or potentially it's a culmination of letting go of things. Eclipses are going to ask you to let go. And my loves, whenever something has to leave in that period, then the sort of advice of that is to let it go, because it isn't destined, even though it's really, really difficult. And this doesn't mean, it could be relationships, you know, like a divorce or breakup and that sort of thing. But it also can be letting go of a previous identity, how you thought of things, allowing a new perspective to come in, allowing yourself to let go of old wounds, especially with the Scorpio, letting that go so that you can create news, creating space for that. A lunar eclipse is also very much where the solar eclipse is the moon and the sun are conjunct in that space. And I will give more information when we closer to that. The lunar eclipse is the opposite. So the sun and the moon are opposite each other. And so it's the polarities, but it's also about relationships. So the solar is self-creating, that sort of stepping into your sun, stepping into that. And then the lunar brings it into relationships, the emotions, the polarities of that, because ultimately we're self and creating within a we for that collective, you know. So this is playing on that sort of me and we axis as well. And so for me, with the lunar eclipse, especially being in the Taurus sign, and our material wealth, our foundation, our security and safety, it's going to be like, where do we look at our lacks, what our needs, and what is lacking? What do we need to create, and what do we need to let go of in order to allow to create? So Scorpio is allowing us to come in, and we're creating, you know, the alchemy and that sort of thing. And Taurus is like, okay, well, what do we need to let go of that isn't serving us in this realm? And it does, like I said, it brings things to a climax. What I will say is eclipses, because they're so potent and powerful, my loves, their emotions are completely heightened. And so not just for yourself being aware of that, but also being aware that everyone else is like that. So it's this just high, like, you know, just think full moon on steroids, or like going mad, like just, it can be like that. So it's having that grace and empathy and awareness that this is what is happening. So you're going to feel the buildup of that from now, and it will then be during that eclipse window. So it's almost like this 3-week period of we're like in it, right? And there will be others like aspects and changes, which I'll touch on in the next video for each of the moons, and that on the different signs changing, like Saturn's changing in this period, going direct. So really a lot. So for me, it's, if we think that the heightened emotions bringing up stuff, Scorpio, is how can you create a practice for self, really sinking into that Taurus feeling of grounding and earthing to allow yourself to navigate this. Because when you're in a grounded space, my loves, this is where you can take a step back. You can see it's all happening, or perhaps you can't, and it's you get blindsided, which is also can happen, but you can almost come back to self and be like, okay, cool, we're going to ride with this, we're going to flow with this, but you're going to come from a state where you're co-creating instead of being in a reactive state of emotional outbursts and that. And that's not to say that that can't happen, because we're all human and this is life. But really, it's sort of what I feel what astrology does is it gives us an opportunity to just have more awareness, more consciousness of like, oh, okay, cool. This is in flow with the energy. It might not be great, but I'm okay. And we can, we know that this is the wave that we're riding together at the moment. And you can also sort of allow yourself to create the support structures you need for this. So yeah, be aware that your emotions can be quite erratic, everyone else. So the outbursts, the energy can also make you feel completely drained and wiped out. So it really is that Taurus thing of coming back to your body and looking after yourself. Really prioritize your self-care rituals, making sure you make time to rest, making sure you make time to ground, meditate or journal, just really, and connecting back to breath, really creating that for self in order to allow yourself to be receptive, but also from a space where you can act in alignment with how you would want to from your soul essence, not how anyone else might want to. This is very much how you would want to be and how you wish to flow with this energy. And so, yeah, I thought I would just share with that and give a heads up into it. And just, I always get excited with eclipses because even though they can be really intense, and there's just always such power, there's always such magic, and how incredible that we can co-create with the universe and allow these things to shift and happen. And it can feel a bit like, whoa, and then afterwards you're like, oh my god, we went through that, we survived that, and you will survive that. And then if you've worked through it with the energy, you will have co-created something incredible, my loves, and you'll turn back and be like, wow, that really was a powerful turning point in my life. That helped alchemize. So sending you so much love, reminding you to just ground yourself, create balance, and nurture this body and nurture your soul, because it has all the wisdom you need. Bye, my beautiful loves. Ciao.